Could your retirement survive one long-term care crisis? Watch now.
Would you know where to go if your nursing home pushed you out? Watch now.
What if the system decided you weren't profitable enough to protect? Watch now, here at Secure 65 Health Plans.
Today will help you write the story of your love, the way you want to be remembered of.
This is a serious podcast today. So take a breath with me, you guys, because I want you to picture something you're not going to want to see, not to scare you for sport, to wake you up while you still have time to do something about it. A hallway that smells like antiseptic, a call light blinking, a wheelchair sitting by a door, a paper in someone's hand that feels heavier than a brick, because it's not just paperwork. It's the moment the system decides you're not profitable enough to be protected. And people, listen, they argue with me all the time. Monet, they just can't put you out. Monet, that's illegal. Monet, Medicare would cover it. Monet, my Social Security will handle it. And I'm telling you today, with love and receipts, nursing homes and hospitals have been accused of doing something advocates call resident dumping, pushing vulnerable people out of care settings and into shelters, motels, unsafe homes, or even straight into the street, even when federal rules are supposed to protect residents from unsafe discharges. This video is difficult to watch, but it reveals a truth every family needs to understand across America. Vulnerable seniors are being resident dumped from care facilities when the system decides they cost too much. Pay close attention, because without preparation, you could end up working longer just to keep a loved one in care, or become the next victim yourself, and neither Medicare nor Medicaid may be able to save you.
So how's it going?
Okay.
You ready to get out of here?
Good.
You ready to get out of here?
Yes.
Are you able to walk a little bit with the walker now?
But I'm gonna try my hardest to make it, and if I can't, then I'll go to a place somewhere else.
Then you stay at the house.
Huh?
Then you'll stay at the house, Mom. Hey, nobody's trying to get rid of you. We're just trying to get you
I know
better.
that, but I don't want to remember.
You're not. Don't worry about that.
I can go. Just pretty much any hospital like that.
If you're looking for a class of people to bully around and to violate their rights, this is probably the best group you could pick, right? They're older, they're medically fragile, they're coming off of a significant medical condition that required a hospitalization and now a lot of rehabilitation. Under-resourced, overwhelmed, poorly informed about what their rights are. They can be manipulated.
On any given day, 1.4 million Americans are living in a nursing home. But experts say that every year, thousands are evicted against their wishes, sometimes illegally because they're low income and on state assistance. In some cases, the people being evicted leave quietly because they don't know what else to do.
Don't fall. You're on camera.
Earlier this year, Glenda Moore was admitted into the Bishop Care Center nursing home to recover from a back surgery that unexpectedly left her unable to walk much or take care of herself. But just a few weeks later, she was shown a letter explaining that Medicare would no longer be covering her stay.
They came in there and we're like, you're ready to go. You're ready to go. And she was like, okay, like she said to you guys. I was at my mom's and my son ran over there crying. And he said, Grandma's at the house. When I walked in here, she had been sitting in her wheelchair for 5 hours, right here where I'm sitting. Couldn't breathe, couldn't get up, bathroom in her pants, and it was awful. When I asked, Glenda, why are you here? Why are you here in this condition? Oh, they released me.
The Bishop Care Center declined to be interviewed for this piece. Glenda's story is that she didn't think she was ready to live on her own. Neither did her kids, who she moved in with. They wanted to know if they could pay for Glenda to stay for a few months longer.
My mom gets $1,600 a month, you know what I mean? For her retirement and her Social Security. I could pay up to like $1,800 a month out of my own pocket. It's not even $4,000 and they want $9,000.
A month?
A month. And it's not like I'm dirt poor, you know? We're like, I consider myself middle class, you know? But we're renters, you know, I mean, we're doing the best we can.
Glenda's family says they only learned later, after she left the nursing home, that she had the right to appeal the Medicare decision, or to apply to Medicaid, and if she qualified, which she later did, to stay in the nursing home for as long as she needed care. After she left the home, things didn't go well.
She had pneumonia within 3 days, had to be on oxygen within 3 days. She's been admitted to the hospital about 10 times.
The Bishop Care Center said that Glenda's health had improved, and that when she left the nursing home, she left voluntarily. Also, that administrators gave her paperwork with information about her right to appeal. We'll come back to Glenda soon, but first, to help understand the scope of the problem, let's consider the most dramatic kind of nursing home eviction.
Because I'm a diabetic, I got an open sore on the bottom of my foot. At one point, because it wouldn't heal properly, it got infected. They sent me into emergency surgery, and they amputated a couple of my toes and a big part of the top of my foot. They just kind of bundled me into an ambulance and drove me to the Avalon Villa Care Center.
Ronald, who was 51 and homeless, got rehab at the nursing home, where he lived for more than a year. Then one night, around 10 p.m., he says an administrator came into his room.
Big smile on their face, saying, we're kicking you out.
They smiled?
Yeah. And they just bundled me into a van and just dropped me off here on the sidewalk.
A later report by the state of California said that Ronald was left on the sidewalk on Skid Row and without his insulin, which he needs for diabetes. The report said he could have died and that his eviction was illegal. The Avalon Villa Care Center, through its lawyers, told NBC News it strongly disputes that it has inappropriately discharged any patients. But the homeless shelter where Ronald's living now says it's seen cases like this before. Experts even have a term for it: resident dumping. Of course, not every story is as dramatic as a person being dumped at the side of the road. In certain situations, it is perfectly legal for a nursing home to ask someone to leave, like if a patient's health has improved. But even the federal government acknowledged in a 2017 memo that some nursing homes are manipulating the rules, pushing out low-income, elderly, and disabled people on Medicaid to make room for more lucrative patients. In 2017, long-term care ombudsmen received more than 10,000 complaints about nursing home discharges and transfers, though that's likely just a small fraction of total cases.
And it is illegal to discriminate between Medicare and Medicaid patients.
Yeah, so it is illegal to discriminate against residents based on payment source, but it happens all the time.
This goes back to how nursing homes in America are paid for. Medicare for people over 65 and Medicaid for low-income people both cover nursing home stays, but they subsidize really different amounts. Medicare pays way more, but what many people don't realize until it's too late is that Medicare only covers short-term rehabilitation, up to 20 days fully paid. After that 20-day mark, a lot of people struggle to pay for the support they still need.
We're definitely seeing an uptick in transfers that seem to be motivated by reimbursement rate as opposed to care needs. And we often see at that 20 days that residents and their family members contact us because facilities are at that point telling them they need to leave.
More and more nursing homes are run by large corporate chains that operate multiple, dozens of facilities throughout multiple states. The length of stay in nursing homes has gone down, down, down. Get them out, get them out.
I noticed that he wouldn't remember something that he had said or done. Last year, he went missing. He didn't come home for 2 days. I called the police, and they found him about 3 miles from here. I knew there was no way I could physically take care of him, and I also couldn't hire anyone because I couldn't afford to, and I can't afford to.
Tom Idimoto was diagnosed with dementia and was sent to a nursing home called Vasona Creek. But in November, Medicare stopped paying for his treatment. His wife Mia was left with the bills.
So I had to pay out of pocket. So I was paying $500 per day for his stay there. Can you open your eyes?
Does he still remember who you are?
He does remember me. I don't know if he would remember his grandsons or grandchildren because they haven't been here for a while.
Like many dementia patients, Tom needed extra attention. He often got confused. Some days, he wandered around the property looking for imaginary car keys. Then, in early 2019, Tom went on Medicaid, and Mia was given a 30-day eviction notice. The notice said that Tom's behavior posed a danger to other residents and that he was aggressive with staff. Mia appealed the eviction at a state hearing.
Fortunately, we won, which I was glad of, that Tom is there for now.
It's not just Medicare versus Medicaid. It's also they want people who don't cost as much to serve. They want easier residents. For Medicaid facilities, if you have people who are low income and maybe have some other symptoms that are maybe related to dementia or Alzheimer's, they require more staff. And so they are more costly.
The administrator at the Vasona Creek Nursing Home told NBC News that he was not authorized to speak about specific residents. Mia says that she and Tom budgeted for their retirement, but then things fell apart.
We lost our home. The stock market crash. So we lost everything.
The financial crisis.
Mm-hmm. And that's when I had to go and look for a job.
I presume you're working because you need to be working.
I do. Trust me, I would not be working in a restaurant standing on my feet if I didn't have to work. I'm looking at another 5 years down the road, which means I will be 80.
What advocates say is that a lot of the time, maybe most of the time, elderly people are pushed out of nursing homes in more subtle and complicated ways. Which brings us back to Glenda Moore, who, in the weeks after she left her nursing home, wound up back in the hospital again and again.
It's like saying, okay, well, you're not worth living because you don't have the money to pay for this or that or whatever it is. My retirement insurance, I had Medicare, and I thought I was completely covered. Everything was okay. Yeah, and I don't want to be a burden on the kids. I don't. And that's what's going to happen.
In May, Glenda appealed her eviction. We asked to film the hearing, but the California Department of Healthcare Services said we couldn't. In the end, a state official ruled in favor of the nursing home.
Do you think that Glenda knew what she was agreeing to?
No. She had no idea.
What was the hardest moment, do you think, of caring for your mother when she was home?
Changing her diaper for me. That's pretty rough, you know. You would think, because that's my mom, you know. And I'm her son, so it's kind of, you know, I'll do it, and it was natural, you know, too. But at the same time, it's something, you know. I don't wish upon those sons, you know, or daughters, you know, to have to do it. It's not even about the, you know, the waste or anything like that. You know, it's deep, you know.
Though the federal government acknowledged back in 2017 that illegal nursing home evictions are a problem, it has not changed its enforcement rules.
We haven't seen any change in practice. We haven't seen a reduction in inappropriate transfers and discharges. There's certain enforcement tools that they have that they aren't using consistently.
Government benefit programs are more than willing to pay for acute care needs related to certain kinds of medical conditions like heart disease and strokes, but they're not really willing to pay for longer-term conditions like Alzheimer's disease, dementia, Parkinson's.
The nursing home industry is a profit-driven industry. They make a lot of money. Don't let them fool you. And this is the business that they're in. They've agreed to, by taking Medicare and Medicaid dollars that are, most of them take, they are agreeing to a set of standards.
What does it make you feel about your own retirement?
Funny you should say that, because I've never thought about it much until now. It scares the crap out of me.
So let me give you stories, not theories, stories. Here's story number 1. San Jose, California. A woman named Anita Willis. She was 58. She was recovering from a stroke, still disabled, still needing help. And she said she was given a choice that really wasn't a choice. Leave the San Jose nursing home or come up with $336 a day to stay. Oh, yes, and she had until midnight to decide. That means the sun is going down and your next plan is what? A hotel? A friend's couch? A body that is still not ready? A brain that has just been through trauma? Okay, now stop right there, because that's the moment a lot of people miss. They think the most dangerous part is the illness. It's not always the illness. Sometimes the most dangerous part is what happens when the money doesn't match the need, or worse, the support. Here's story number 2. From Fresno, Manning Gardens Care Center. There was a lawsuit alleging a 78-year-old resident was dumped at her former home, an uninhabitable house, after a hospitalization, with Medi-Cal paying for most of the care. And the picture the advocates painted was horrifying. A woman already previously found in conditions no human being should ever be found in, then discharged without safe arrangements, like the responsibility ended the moment the van door shut. Can HR called it dumping. And here's the part people need to understand, so listen in. These aren't just sad stories. California documents show a $20,000 Class A citation tied to a transfer discharge violation at that same facility. That means this isn't rumor. This isn't the kind of thing that gets investigated, cited, or penalized. Story number 3. Now, this one is one that sounds like a movie until you realize it was described in the same California Healthline reporting about nursing home evictions. A wheelchair-bound resident in severe pain, osteoarthritis, scoliosis, fibromyalgia, discharged and sent to a homeless shelter. The shelter couldn't accommodate her wheelchair, so she went to a motel. The motel kicked her out when her money ran out, and then she cycled between the streets, you ready, and the emergency room. You guys, do you hear how fast that slide is? It goes from nursing home to shelter, to rejection, to motel, to broke, to street, to ER, and then back to street. That's what I'll figure it out looks like when your body can't bargain anymore, or your money. Here's story 4. Now, this one is kind of a quiet cruelty that doesn't trend online because it happens to people without an audience. Advocates and investigators have documented discharges where residents end up, ready, abandoned or unsafe because the handoff wasn't safe. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Inspector General has warned that facility-initiated discharges require further attention, and that states' ombudsman cited discharge evictions as, are you ready, the top nursing home complaint, the top, from 2013 through 2019. That's not one bad building, that's a pattern. So when someone says, well, that can't happen, what that really means is, I don't want to believe it. And I get it. Because if you believe it, now you have to plan for it, right? You have to face the fact that love is not a long-term care plan. Hope is not a long-term care plan. And your children, listen to me, please. Your children are not a long-term care plan. And it's not because they don't love you. It's not because they're bad. It's not because of any of that. But it's because life changes, jobs change, marriage changes, health changes, people move, people struggle. People have their own children, and even the best child in the world can't always lift a grown adult, manage medications, fight an appeal, take off work, sleep in a chair at the hospital, and still keep their own life from collapsing. And if they become ill before you, well, do I really need to say more? And this is where I get firm, you guys. When people tell me, I can't afford long-term care, I don't stop. Because what you're really saying is, I'm going to risk my last chapter being written by a crisis. Sad, scary, and wander into the unknown, not knowing if I will have anyone or any money to fund this last chapter, or how this will look and or feel. Really? Come on. You nor your family deserve that. Regret and suffering is not the way you want to describe the last moments of your life. And neither should your family. So here's the truth in numbers, because this isn't rare. The Administration for Community Living says someone turning 65 has almost a 70% chance of needing some type of long-term care services and supports. And 20% will need it for longer than 5 years. Think about that. So if most of us are likely to need help at some point, why do we keep treating long-term care planning like an optional upgrade? Why do we act like it's a luxury item when it's closer to car insurance? Something you don't buy because you're excited about paying. Nobody is excited about that. But because one wreck can erase your whole life financially and physically. And let me say this carefully. I'm not making a legal claim that long-term care is currently mandatory. I'm making a moral and practical argument that it should be treated like a requirement in our personal planning. You know why? Because the consequences of not having a plan are not inconvenient. They can be uncomfortable, humiliating, dangerous, lonely, and often irreversible. Now, I want you to stop and tell me, what does planning actually look like when you feel like you don't have money to do all of that? Because planning means you don't rely on one fragile thing, one check, one child, one assumption about Medicare. Because the minute that one thing breaks, you're in the midnight decision Anita faced. Planning means you build layers, even if the layers start small. Here are solutions we can help you put in place through Bivix Wealth and Insurance Solutions and Collaborative Expansion Foundation before it's too late. We build you a real long-term care map, okay? What your likely risks are, what your family situation realistically can and cannot do, and what your options are if you want to stay at home as long as possible, because most long-term care is actually delivered at home and not in a facility. We help you explore coverage strategies that fit different budgets, including hybrid approaches that can create a pool of dollars for care, so you're not stuck paying full private rates out of pocket when the clock is ticking. We help you build a no family plan on paper. Who can speak for you? What documents need to exist? What your housing and care preferences are, and how to reduce the odds that you become an easy target for an unsafe discharge. We help you create an emergency care buffer plan. So even if you can't do the perfect policy today, you're not walking into your 70s and 80s with nothing but wishful thinking. And we teach you how to advocate in real time. What questions to ask a facility, what discharge notices mean, and where to go for help when something feels wrong. Because ombudsmen exist for a reason, and complaints about discharge and evictions don't become top complaints by accident. So let me land this right where it belongs. This is not a podcast about insurance or insurance premiums. This is a podcast about dignity, about safety, about not being rolled out of a building with your life in a plastic bag while everybody tells themselves, well, it's not our job anymore. They send prayers and notes of love, but right now, you need shelter and care. If you're listening right now and you're thinking, I just don't have enough money for long-term care, I hear you, but I'm going to say it plainly. You can't afford to have nothing, because nothing is what turns into the shelter that can't take your wheelchair, turns into the motel that kicks you out. It turns into the midnight deadline, the sidewalk. There are numerous options, short-term care, hospitalization plans, and so much more we can talk about. What you need to do is call me now and let's plan now while you can, because there is a point where there's no going back, especially if you have no family. I love you guys, and I'm here for anyone who wants to do the work now so that they don't have to feel the regret and the pain later. I'm Monet Swan, and this has been Secure 65 Health Plans. where seniors thrive.
BibX Wealth Insurance Solutions.